If we are one, then what happens in one field happens in all. What happens in one heart ripples through the whole. So what happens when enough of us begin to see the same hidden patterns? Then those patterns lose their power. In our last two episodes, we opened the door to something big: disclosure and ET coexistence. We talked about the possibility, some would say inevitability, that we are not alone in this universe, that there are other intelligences, other forms of consciousness that have been part of our story all along. But there's a piece of that conversation that often gets left out. It's the part that says none of that can land in a clean, clear way while our own field is still running on fear, trauma, and distorted frequencies. If we try to meet high frequency beings while we're still entrained to systems that harvest our fear, our anger, our despair, we may inevitably project our wounds onto them. We'll misread what's happening. We'll stay trapped in narratives that keep us in spiritual confinement, no matter how cosmic the story may sound. So in this episode, and others to follow, we're going to create a bridge. We're going to call it our inner disclosure. We're going to talk about what's been keeping our frequency so distorted, the invisible systems that harvest our fear, the ancient patterns that benefit from our remaining asleep, and the inner voices that try to run our show from within. Because when we talk about coexisting with ETs and other interdimensional beings, the question isn't just, are they real? It's, what frequency are we meeting them from? What distortions, fears, miasms, and overlays are we still carrying? And who or what has been invested in keeping us that way? Take a breath on that one. Let that land. And when you're ready, let's move forward. Hi, I'm Darrell T. Johnson, a musician, a teacher, and a QHHT hypnosis practitioner. I'd like to welcome all of you to episode 42 of If We Are One. And welcome to this bridging episode, which holds a connective thread from our last two. There's a term in some esoteric circles for the emotional energy that we broadcast every moment of our lives. It's called loosh, L-O-O-S-H. You may not have heard that word before, but you've definitely felt its effects. Loosh is simply this: the energetic byproduct of our emotions. Every feeling you have, fear, joy, rage, love, grief, awe, generates a kind of subtle energy that doesn't just vanish. It goes somewhere. It does something in the field. In its purest form, loosh is love. It's the raw creative fuel of consciousness itself. But when that energy is filtered through trauma, fear, and separation, it becomes something else. it becomes dense, heavy, and in some very real ways, harvestable. That is where the idea of an energetic farm comes in. There's a Disney children's movie from a few years back that actually maps this whole dynamic in a surprisingly clear way. Monsters Incorporated. In that story, the monster world runs on energy harvested from human children, but specifically from their fear. The monsters literally sneak into the human world, scare children, and capture their screams to power their factories and their entire civilization. It's a fear farm, dressed up as a CGI cartoon. Now, of course, it's a story. But esoterically, it's not far off from what we're talking about. A system that depends on low vibration emotional energy, fear, trauma, despair, to keep itself running. And here's the interesting twist in that story. They eventually discover that joy, laughter, love, those generate even more energy than fear does. But the entire infrastructure is built around fear. So the shifting of that system is complicated. That's a very good mirror for what we're facing. Not that the world is run by literal green or blue monsters hiding in closets, but there are systems, narratives, and influences that benefit when you stay afraid, stay contracted, and stay entrained in survival mode. And until you see that pattern, it's easy to think that fear is just the world being the world. But once you see it, you start to notice, oh, this is a farm. This is a factory. And I've been unknowingly feeding it. Imagine for a moment that certain systems, media, entertainment, cultural narratives, even some institutions, are designed, whether consciously or unconsciously, to keep your nervous system in a state of low vibration arousal. Fear, outrage, anxiety, moral collapse, endless conflict. You turn on the news, and it's, if it bleeds, it leads. You scroll through your feeds, and the algorithm rewards whatever spikes your adrenaline. Outrage, polarization, doom. You open your streaming apps for entertainment, and thousands of titles later, you still struggle to find anything that isn't soaked in blood, betrayal, or cynicism. This isn't just bad taste. This is a frequency trap. Every time your system locks into those states, you're generating low vibration loosh. And in the model we're exploring, that energy doesn't just disappear. It goes somewhere. It feeds something. It sustains something. Some traditions describe this as non-physical entities or interdimensional influences that thrive on fear, trauma, and separation. What Gnostics called archons, what some modern teachers call predatory energies. I tend to think of it as the dark cabinet, not in a literal room with people in suits, but a hidden layer of influence, both human and non-human, that benefits when humanity stays locked into survival, scarcity, and conflict. In this view, wars, endless crisis, trauma-based entertainment, and fear-driven news cycles aren't just human mistakes. They are efficient loosh harvesting operations. The more afraid, angry, and divided we are, the more fuel is available to these systems. But it's not only out there. There are also human structures, economic, political, media, even some religious and spiritual systems that gain power, profit, or control when you remain in a low vibrational state. You know what I'm talking about. A terrified consumer is easier to manipulate. An outraged citizen is easier to polarize. A traumatized population is easier to dominate. So whether you look at this through an interdimensional lens, a purely human lens, or both, the pattern is the same. There are forces, seen and unseen, that benefit when you forget your divine nature and stay locked in fear. That's the who benefit layer of the energetic fear farm. And here's the spiritually confining part. When your baseline is fear, any information you receive, even about ET's disclosure or high dimensions, will be processed through fear as its filter. Your perception narrows, your field contracts. You start to believe that the world is fundamentally dangerous, that you are fundamentally unsafe, and that nothing you do really matters. That is spiritual confinement without bars. I'm going to give you a personal example. There was a period in my own life where I thought I was staying informed, but what I was really doing was doom scrolling through news cycles, watching hour after hour of fear-based content, and then wondering why I felt so drained, so cynical, so disconnected from my own spiritual practice. I'd sit down to meditate, and my monkey mind would be racing with headlines. I'd turn on music, and instead of feeling lifted, I just feel numb. And I'm a musician. I'd walk into a public space and feel anxious. I would have to do a threat assessment before moving forward. It wasn't until I started tracking my input, what I watched, what I read, what I listened to, that I saw patterns. The more fear-based content I consumed, the more my field contracted. The more contracted my field, the more I was generating low vibrational loosh. And the more I generated that, the more I felt like nothing I did mattered. That's the trap. So, how do we begin to step out of this? First, by noticing. Start to feel what different inputs do to your field. Before you watch something, before you scroll, before you click, pause for half a breath and ask, what frequency is this? Does this expand me or contract me? After I consume this, do I feel more alive or more drained? You don't need to judge yourself. You don't need to purge everything overnight. Just start to notice where you feel lit up and where you feel dimmed. I'm personally at a point now where I simply have an innate sense of frequency immediately, where my discernment quickly reads the room, and by extension, the field. A simple way to cultivate this is to perhaps keep a small journal or note on your phone for a week. Each day, write down one piece of content you consumed that made me feel alive. One piece of content that made you feel more drained. Don't overthink it. Just notice. Over time, patterns will emerge. You'll start to see which inputs are feeding your light and which are feeding the fear farm. Second, practice a simple resonance check. Place your hand on your chest. Take 3 slow breaths. Feel the energy in your chest. Then bring to mind something you're about to watch, read, or engage with. Notice what happens in your body. Does your field open or does it tighten? Your body already knows. You're just learning to listen. You can deepen this by adding a short visualization if need be. As you breathe, imagine your heart as a sun radiating warm golden light through your entire chest. As that light expands, imagine it filling your whole body. Then, as you bring that content to mind, notice how your field responds to it in the presence of that light. Does it feel congruent? Or does it feel like a mismatch? Again, no judgment, just information. Third, make one conscious substitution. Identify one fear-based input you regularly consume. A news source, a show, a gaming platform, a social feed, and replace it with something that nourishes your heart. A piece of music that lifts you, a story of courage, a short meditation. Even 5 minutes of silence, or listening to healing frequencies like 432 or 528 hertz tones. This isn't about perfection, it's about direction. Every time you choose a high frequency input, you're sending a signal to your system. I am not livestock. I am not a battery. I am a co-creator. And that signal matters. Because here's the real bridge to our earlier disclosure conversation. Their frequencies are already high. If we don't rise to meet them energetically, we won't be able to handle the intensity of their presence. We'll interpret them through our wounds. We'll project our fears, and we'll miss what's actually being offered. Think about it. If you try to have a conversation with someone while you're in a state of panic, how well does that go? You mishear them. You project your assumptions. You react instead of respond. Now imagine trying to engage with high vibration interdimensional beings, or even your own higher self from that same state. It simply doesn't work. So this series is about clearing that lens. Over the next 2 or more episodes, we'll go deeper. We'll look at who or what might be behind this system. The architects of fear, the archontic patterns, the inner mimic code that tries to run our show from within. And we'll talk about how to not only clear our field, but become a stable beam of light in it. But for now, let this be your practice. Notice your input. Feel their effect on your field. Make one conscious choice today to feed your light instead of your fear. Again, you are not livestock. You are not a battery. You are a co-creator. And every time you choose higher frequency, you're not just helping yourself, you're lifting the entire field. So before we close, let's take a few minutes to do a short, guided practice together. Find a comfortable position. You can be sitting or lying down. Allow your eyes to close or soften your gaze downward. Place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Take 3 slow breaths. Deep breaths. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Let each exhale be a little longer than the inhale. Now, bring your attention to your heart. Imagine it as a sun, radiating warm golden light. With each breath, that light grows a little brighter, a little warmer. As you breathe, imagine that light expanding through your chest, down through your arms, into the belly, down through the legs, and up through your neck and head. Your entire body is filled with warm golden light. Now bring to mind your idea of the fear farm. It might show up as images of news feeds, violent shows, chaotic social media, or it might just feel like a heavy, dense energy around you. Whatever it is, simply acknowledge it. Don't fight it. Don't judge it. Just see it. Now, imagine your heart sunlight expanding even further, creating a bubble of golden light around you. This is your sovereign field. As that bubble forms, silently or out loud, say to yourself, I withdraw my consent from all systems that feed on my fear. I choose to feed my light. Feel that intention sealing your field. Now imagine any dense, foreign, or low vibration energies inside that bubble beginning to dissolve. It doesn't matter where it came from. It doesn't matter who put it there. It's simply transmuting now, returning to source, tuning and turning into pure, neutral energy. Watch as your field becomes lighter, brighter, clearer. Take 3 more deep breaths, anchoring this new clarity. And when you're ready, gently bring your awareness back to the room. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you feel complete, open your eyes. As you move through the next few days, I invite you to make this practice a daily ritual, even if it's just 5 minutes, even if it's just the hand on heart, 3 breaths and 1 conscious choice. And if you feel called, share your experiences with me. Leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me, what did you notice? What did you notice about your inputs? What one substitution did you make? How did it feel consciously to withdraw your consent from the fear farm? Your story matters. They're not just yours. They're part of the collective field. In the next episode, we'll go deeper into the architecture behind the system. We'll talk about archons, mimics, and the inner voices that try to keep us small. And we'll practice reclaiming our sovereignty in very practical ways. Until then, remember, you are not broken. You are not owned. You are waking up. And every time you choose truth over fear, you weaken the entire architecture of control. So if we are one, then your clarity is everyone's clarity. Your freedom is everyone's freedom. And your light is a door, not just for you, but for all of us. We'll be talking more about these and other topics in future installments. And if there's anything that you would like for me to discuss, or any questions that you may have about anything that I have shared, please feel free to mention it by leaving a question or a comment in the comment section. As always, if you have found any of this information at all helpful or enlightening, please like, subscribe, and share with others. I truly appreciate those of you who are letting others know about this podcast, and I continue to be excited at the growing number of souls awakening worldwide to this ongoing movement of remembrance to a oneness consciousness. So in closing, as always, I send you my love. And if we are one, let's all live in peace, love, and joy.